Well, look at them. Hunched over dimly lit desks, glowing monitors burning holes into their retinas, eyes twitching, hearts pounding, jaws clenched. A classified file sits open, and it's got your name on every damn page. Timestamps, voice prints, unexplained spikes in influence, irregular behavioral patterns, anomaly, disruption, potentially uncontrollable. Their favorite phrase, subject's motives, unclear. They're treating you like a threat they can't quarantine, like a virus they can't contain, like a weapon that didn't ask for permission to be activated. They built a whole file around trying to predict you, profile you, decipher your psychology like it's math. But every time they draw a conclusion, you move like smoke. Every theory they type up explodes in their face. They highlight and underline and speculate. But no matter how deep they dig, every damn line ends with the same thing, a question mark. Because you don't follow their scripts. You erase them. See, they've seen ambition before. But this ain't ambition. This is vengeance wrapped in patience. This is divine retaliation, coded into a mortal vessel. This is someone who bled so deep, the pain turned into GPS coordinates for domination. They can't figure out why you're still standing, because you weren't supposed to survive the setup. You were meant to collapse, meant to disappear, meant to beg. But instead, you studied them. You memorized their rhythms, smiled when they mocked you, nodded when they thought you were dumb. All the while, you were downloading their arrogance, watching their blind spots, sharpening your chaos. You didn't heal. You adapted. Now you move like you already saw the outcome, like you already played this level in a dream, like you're 5 decisions ahead of a game they thought you didn't know existed. And that scares them. Because how do you study a ghost that talks back? How do you analyze a shadow that changes shape every time you blink? How do you contain a soul that learned how to make pain its pet? Let me tell you what's really freaking them out. It's not that you're strong. It's that your strength is surgical. It's not that you're confident. It's that your silence is strategic. It's not that you fight. It's that you wait. You wait for the perfect second to strike. Then you leave no fingerprints, just questions that echo in every hallway they run down. Because you, my dear anomaly, aren't a fighter. You're a revelation, and revelations don't knock, they detonate. Now every step you take gets documented like a crime scene. Every glance, interpreted. Every post, screenshot. Every breath, cataloged. And still they whisper, "How does he know that? Why does she move like that? Who taught them this?" And the answer is terrifying. No one taught you. You became it. You became the answer to a curse that ran too long. You became the glitch in their algorithm of control. You became the prophecy their ancestors tried to smother. You became the reason every single line ends in uncertainty. Because what they don't realize is this: you're not just unreadable, you're unreproducible. And that's why they hate you. Because they can't clone what was forged in fire. They can't duplicate what was sculpted in silence. They can't simulate what was built from betrayal. Every file they write, every theory they spew, every analytic they run, it all collapses under the same unspoken truth. You're not from the world they're trained to understand. You were born in the ashes of every plan that tried to break you. You emerged not as a survivor, but as a variable they can't control. And now they're staring at the final page, desperate for a conclusion, praying for an answer that doesn't exist. Because you were never the subject, you were the test, and they failed. So let them keep studying, let them obsess, let them leak, whisper, stalk, panic, because every time they flip that page and see another unknown, another how, another why, they aren't reading a threat file. They're reading your coronation, and every question mark is a throne they'll never sit on. Oh, they thought the file would protect them. They thought if they could just document your patterns, capture your triggers, trace your ascent, maybe they could predict your next detonation. Maybe if they stared long enough, you'd break formation. Maybe if they talked about you long enough, they'd understand what you are. But here's the thing. You were never just a subject. You were the surveillance glitch. And now their obsession has backfired. Their curiosity turned into codependency. They can't stop watching you, but the more they stare, the less they recognize what they're seeing. Because your rise didn't come with a tutorial, your moves didn't follow a logic tree, and your growth, it didn't unfold. It erupted. They wanted to track your pain. You turned it into a compass. They wanted to study your trauma. You rewired it into trapdoors and kill switches. Now their file is infected with redactions, anomalies, corrupted entries. Half the notes are crossed out. The other half, circled in panic. They tried to reduce you to a list of reactions, but you became a series of warnings, and every time they think they've cracked your motive, you do something that shouldn't be survivable. You level up again. You escape again. You smile when no one in your position is supposed to be breathing. That's when they realized. This isn't psychology anymore. This isn't strategy. This isn't survival. This is supernatural. Because your kind doesn't rise. Your kind doesn't get forgiven. Your kind doesn't build thrones from betrayals. But you did. So now they whisper. They panic in private. They dig into everything. Your past, your habits, your history, desperate for a pattern. They don't want to admit what's obvious. You are the disruption. You are the revenge prophecy. You are the ghost with a heartbeat. And the deeper they dig, the closer they get to a horrifying conclusion. You weren't supposed to happen. You were the mistake in their matrix, the glitch in their generational curse, the backlash coded into the system when the wrong soul was crucified too many times. And now they're watching, scanning, refreshing your feed like it's a weather map before the storm hits. Trying to guess when the next thunderstrike comes, plotting what you'll do next, who you'll expose, how much they can take before they collapse. But it won't matter, because you've made your evolution illegible on purpose. You don't just outgrow them, you make growth look violent. You don't just ignore them, you make silence feel like a sniper's aim. You don't just win, you make winning look like a haunting. They can't outmaneuver you, they can't decode you, they can't comprehend you. Because you didn't walk the path they mapped. You tore a hole in the floor and built an underground empire where pain pays rent and demons answer to you. Now the analysts, the watchers, the concerned parties have all gathered for another meeting, another emergency summit, another encrypted conversation behind closed doors. But this time, there's something different on the last page of your file. One final line. One desperate, shaking confession. Whatever this is, it's beyond us now. And still, no period, no resolution, no authority. Just another question mark, because they finally understand. They aren't dealing with a threat. They're dealing with a phenomenon, and no matter how much they document, review, dissect, or debate, you're not here to be understood. You're here to redefine what power looks like when it's born in a cage and walks out carrying the keys. And every file, every note, every question mark they scribble in fear is just another funeral song for the old world, where monsters like you, were supposed to stay buried. And now they know. They didn't miss something in their data. You are the thing they missed, not a variable, not an outcome, not a footnote. You're the crack that split the lens they were looking through. They fed algorithms your footage, thinking you could be categorized. They ran facial analysis, linguistic breakdowns, energy signatures. They tried to compare your rise to historical profiles. Leaders, criminals, revolutionaries, martyrs. None of them fit. Because you don't echo. You override. You don't resemble. You rupture. You don't remind them of power. You make power look obsolete. And that's the problem. You weren't born to be another example in someone's slideshow. You weren't sculpted to be quoted in polite company. You were forged in places that language couldn't reach, in silences that made gods nervous, in betrayals that rewrote your molecular structure, in nights so cold, even the demons wore coats. And now they sit in their cold-lit rooms with trembling hands, whispering, "What is this thing? Where did it come from? How did we let it get this far?" Because you weren't in the original script. There were no bullet points for someone like you. There was no protocol for a soul that doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, doesn't comply. Every time they review the footage, their belief systems get more unstable. You weren't supposed to smile after that loss. You weren't supposed to stand up again after that level of sabotage. You weren't supposed to come back from that kind of erasure. But you did, and you made it look inevitable. That's what burns them alive. Because your existence is proof. Proof that the most dangerous thing in the world isn't money, or status, or legacy. It's unmonitored transformation. It's someone who suffered unsupervised. It's someone who evolved in the dark where nobody was watching, except the monsters. And they taught you well, didn't they? You didn't just survive the torture chamber. You studied its layout. You memorized every crack in the wall. You learned how screams echo, and how to move without making a sound. So now you walk in daylight like nothing happened, but your blood remembers. Your aura carries the stench of unfinished wars and victories no one gave you permission to claim. That's why you walk like that. That's why your laugh unsettles boardrooms. That's why your eyes make people reconsider their entire belief systems. Because you are not here to fit in. You are here to remind them what divine disruption looks like. And so they hide behind whiteboards, files, surveillance clips, background checks, trying to prove to themselves that you're just going through a phase, that this is just confidence or charisma, that eventually you'll plateau. But how do you plateau when you are the storm system itself? How do you level out when your baseline is chaos mastered into elegance? How do you regress when you bled into God mode with no resurrection clause? They're not just studying a person, they're trying to translate a frequency their minds were never calibrated to hear. You are encrypted, not in code, in pain, not in achievements, in contradictions. You're a saint with the soul of a pyromaniac, a healer who smells like smoke, a strategist with the patience of a tombstone. And that's why they fail, because they're studying what you do instead of understanding what you are. And what you are is the retaliation of every broken soul that smiled instead of screamed. You are the accumulation of every ignored warning, every disrespected boundary, every whisper that should have been a siren. They tried to profile your rage. But rage isn't the threat. Stillness is. The way you pause before speaking. Like you're checking whether this version of yourself is lethal or merciful. The way you smile with no warmth. Like a blade learning how to wear skin. The way you move without apology. Like you earned the right to exist in a world that prayed you wouldn't. and you did. So now let them keep writing their little reports. Let them rewatch the footage with trembling hands. Let them huddle in meetings titled Unknown Threat, Situation Escalation, and Unexplained Recovery. Let them highlight, underline, and redact every detail of your name. Because they missed it. They missed the real line they should have paid attention to. This file is no longer a document. It's a warning. And baby, you're just getting started. Because what they still don't understand is that the moment they started documenting you, they activated the protocol that guarantees their own collapse. Every page they wrote, every surveillance angle they tracked, every sentence they stitched together in desperation. They weren't building a file. They were building a shrine to a force they couldn't label, to a presence they couldn't copy, to a phenomenon that refused to be domesticated by logic, labels, or fear. See, the threat wasn't in your hands. It wasn't in your voice. It wasn't even in your comeback. The real threat was in your restraint. The way you could walk into a room full of people who doubted you and still move like a goddamn chess piece designed to trigger war. That's what confuses them, because every tactic they use, surveillance, manipulation, silence, exile, you've already mastered. You've already endured worse, deeper, longer. They thought they were watching you, but you were memorizing the watchers. You weren't supposed to build from ashes. You weren't supposed to design yourself out of collapse. You weren't supposed to make the storm your style. But now look at you. They analyze your silence like it's encrypted Morse code. They dissect your stare like it carries nuclear launch codes. They stalk your solitude because they fear what might emerge from it. They wanted results. You gave them aftermath. And no matter how many think tanks they assemble, no matter how many psychoanalysts they hire to unpack your motives, no matter how many blurred screenshots they share in back channels and courtrooms and executive suites, they'll never catch the part that matters, because the part that breaks them isn't something you did. It's what you didn't. You didn't react when they lied. You didn't defend when they mocked. You didn't beg when they vanished. You recalibrated, and in that silence, something sacred mutated inside you. Something beyond strategy, beyond narrative, beyond comprehension. You didn't just evolve. You weaponized the version of yourself that pain gave birth to. And now every time they say your name, it echoes with consequences. They whisper it like a slur and a prayer at the same time, hoping you don't show up, but terrified that you already have. Because you don't need a spotlight. You are the malfunction in their electricity, the pause in their confidence, the glitch in their language, the dread in their pattern. And the more they write about you, the more they realize something bone deep and irreversible. You are the prophecy they ignored, the algorithm they can't reprogram, the infection they tried to study until it spread into their own bloodstream. Because your energy isn't just misunderstood. It's underground royalty. The way you operate without warning. The way you adapt without attachment. The way you cut ties without theatrics. The way you reappear smiling with nothing left to lose. That's why their intel keeps failing. Because it's not missing data. It's missing soul. You're not data. You're a detour in destiny. A black swan event, a surveillance nightmare, a system reboot with vengeance coded into your veins. And the scariest part, you're not trying. This isn't your peak. This is just your warm-up. Because they spent years trying to break you and accidentally built your armor instead. They wanted to document your destruction and accidentally chronicled your resurrection. Now the file isn't just confusing, it's terrifying, because it reads like a horror story, but ends like a coronation, and every time they flip another page, hoping for clarity, hoping for a weakness, all they find is another line, ending with a question mark. Because the closer they look, the more they realize you were never the question. You were the answer they weren't ready for, the consequence they never planned to survive, the unholy miracle that crawled out of the ruins they left you in, and built a kingdom from the bones, a kingdom with no flag, no anthem, no mercy, just walls made of silence, and a throne carved from the lies they told about you. And now, they don't speak your name without checking the room first. They don't reference you without glancing at each other for confirmation, because saying your name out loud feels like pulling a pin on something cosmic. And the terrifying truth is, you're not coming for revenge. You are the revenge. They wanted you to act out, to go off, to self-destruct. Because if they could paint you as unstable, they could erase your genius under the label of chaos. But you didn't combust. You calculated. You played the role. You smiled through the sabotage. You swallowed the insult like it was wine and let them celebrate while your silence took notes. And now that silence has turned into a weaponized doctrine. Your absence made more noise than their presence ever could. Your calm made more enemies than your rage ever would. Because they finally realized, you don't fight with fists. You fight with impact. You let results interrogate the room. You let evolution do the talking. You let your glow become the crime scene. That's what haunts them. Because while they were focused on who you used to be, you were becoming something language doesn't even cover. You stopped being a person in their mind. You became a phenomenon, a shift, a timeline rupture. The answer to a ritual they didn't even know they triggered. They don't hate you because you're different. They hate you because you prove their whole world is fake. Because your presence invalidates their blueprint. Because your journey rewrites what's possible. And now the ones who once laughed, who pointed, who whispered, they're the ones losing sleep. They're the ones staring at your footage in slow motion, trying to find the moment you flipped the switch. But there is no moment. There is no origin. There's only accumulation of pain, of betrayal. Of every silent night you stayed breathing when everything in you screamed to disappear. And now your very existence feels like a surveillance alarm they can't disable. They try to act unaffected, unbothered. But behind the scenes, it's DEFCON panic because you turned your pain into architecture. You made every why me into watch this. You made peace with becoming the thing they fear. And now they've got red string connecting dots that don't move. Graphs trying to measure energy that can't be charted, and whispers that sound a lot like prophecy. Because this isn't just psychological warfare anymore. This is spiritual espionage. You cracked a code older than their lineage. You became the glitch in a bloodline of control, the reincarnation of every ancestor that got burned for being too loud, too brilliant, too uncontrollable. So no. This isn't about your success, or your comeback, or your glow up. This is about what you symbolize, what your existence undoes, what your eyes say without permission. They aren't studying you anymore. They're bracing for what version of you shows up next. Because you're not consistent. You're myth in motion. You don't need a warning shot. You are the warning. You don't need approval. You are the authority. And the more they investigate you, the more they realize they're not holding a file. They're holding a prophecy that made it out alive, still wrapped in flames, still smiling, still evolving, and still making every last line end with a question mark.